Hi, friends. I know some of you are like me and you love experimenting with artist supplies. I like to just bring an occasional kind of a fresh twist to my process, and I've been playing with color pencils a lot lately. I received these Arrtx watercolor pencils and wanted to share them with you guys. What you're going to get in this set is 72 colors. Let me just open them up. And what really attracted me to these as well is they're pretty compact. So of course I love portability. As you can see, I played quite a bit with them. So the colors are a little bit out of order, but I love them for their portability. They're mess free. To me, that's awesome. They kind of have some double duty. You can use them dry if you want to get some texture and maybe details, or you can add water to get that watercolor effect. So I like that. I also think they're pretty beginner friendly. In this set, you do get 72, and they also have, which is really cool, these little sketchbooks, the little travel journal. And I was actually surprised how heavy duty the water is in these. So it's going to really handle a lot of the water, and it is cold press, but look at how vibrant these pencils are. So that attracted me right away, that high pigment quality, really vibrant and rich. And let's just play a bit with them and see how they blend here on the paper. And then I've got this fun little drawing. I tried to make it somewhat simplified and basic so we could play with blending some of the colors. But let's just do this. I'm going to take the red here. The light fastness, by the way, on these, the single colors aren't rated with light fastness, but everywhere I looked and reviews I read, they supposedly have a very good light fastness. So I don't know how to share more about that with you, but I know I've had watercolor pencils forever, drawings I did, and they work just fine. The fun thing about these is you can layer them. They're great for mixed media journaling, backgrounds, swatching, those kind of glazes. So let's just go ahead and play with that. These two, by the way, didn't seem quite as soft as my Artistos. I like the softness, but you do have to be a little careful with them. Let's go ahead and blend. And by the way, the floral that I'm going to do here and show you kind of how I blended these is going to be on my 140-pound cold press paper. It's a little bit textured. And this paper, though, that I'm using is the Paul Rubens cold press, which I actually really like for things like this. Let's just start with, let's see, what color is this? I did the swatch for these, by the way. Gosh, interesting. I don't see the color. It just references it as AW251. So I'm just going to put this on here. And then what I'm going to do, I like, by the way, trying to use my pencils, my watercolor pencils on their side. I just feel like it protects that tip a bit. And then I'm going to take this yellow, which to me looks like a lemon yellow. So this is dry on dry. This is one way you can use them. And if you're using them dry on dry, as you can see, maybe it still does create a bit of a glaze. But let me show you when I add water. A lot of times too, if I'm going to be playing with watercolor pencils, I like a stiffer brush. This is my 8 round, which is quite snappy, so it's about middle. But let me show you this. I'm going to rinse my brush a little bit and then go back into it from the right. So look at how beautiful this blend is. They blend really, really well. And for me, that's how I kind of tell a good high quality watercolor pencil, is how well they blend. The other thing I'm going to tell you I notice on here is, let me just show you on this sheet. So a lot of you have asked me about this. What's the better paper to work with watercolor pencils? I really believe for that blendability and kind of a little bit smoother, I do think the hot press is better. I don't really use hot press, but I think it works really well here. I'm going to blend a little area here on the cold press just so you can see. So let me grab that red again. It was kind of interesting to me too that they came with the points down. To me, I kind of like to keep the points up. That's just me. I'm always trying to protect my points on everything. So here's the, and as you can already maybe notice, even when I'm using these pencils on the cold press paper, you can see a lot more texture. Hopefully you can see that in the paper. So this is the hot press, very smooth. Here's the cold press, much more textured. And then let's add that yellow from the other side. And let me just show you a little bit of the difference so you can kind of decide what you like. Now, I actually like texture, but the blending on the hot press is really, really pretty. So I'm going to start from the left, move over to the right, and then I'm going to rinse my brush, start from the right, go to the left. There we go. Just blend that a little bit more. And hopefully, let me see if I can hold this up. So these pencils are still blending really, really well, even on the cold press, but the hot press is just a bit smoother. The cold press shows just a bit more, almost looks a little bit more grainy. So that's kind of for you to decide which you like. The hot press is always a better paper for illustration, crisper lines. I prefer cold press because I do like that texture, but those are the difference. So I wanted to show you that. And we had a little bit of layering and blending there. They're so great. What's great about these two is a watercolor pencil. You can go in afterwards and you can add in a detail. So say I wanted, let's start working on first on our, go ahead and start on our flowers because I can show you a lot of these techniques on the flowers here. And by the way, I go in a lot of times on my old paintings and I'll use color pencil to kind of blend. I might have even done that in the little book here. I did a little bit of it here. So once it dried, I glazed over it with another layer just to darken some of the areas, and it worked quite well. We're going to do some of that here. Let's go ahead and start with our little daisy in the middle, and I'm going to use, I think I'll use kind of this is like a dusty blue, that's what I call it, AW723. And I'm just going to color in the middle of this flower here, because I want it to kind of look like a yellow flower, a white flower. So I'm going in, and if you notice here, I'm working on a small space, so I am using the tip of my brush. I'm just going in and lightly coloring in a lot of these areas. And boy, these are so nice and soft. I love them. I also really appreciate their color choices. Sometimes that can be kind of a deal breaker for me in some paint palettes and watercolor pencils. Another little tip, when you are sharpening your watercolor pencils, please take note of this little tip. Use a pencil sharpener, and you want to turn the sharpener around your pencil because these cores are really soft and you don't want to damage them. And when I use an electric sharpener, it will eat up quite a bit of my pencil. So I tend to like to sharpen mine on their own. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat this morning. Now I'm going to go in. I've laid that down, and I'm going to go through, and I'm just going to kind of spread that out using a little bit of the push and pull. Actually, I think what I'll do is add in a little bit of this dark blue right around the core because I want it to blend together. So when I apply water, how fun is this? It's going to mix these two together. So I've got some blue, I've got some gray in there, and let's give it a go. So I've wet my brush. I'm just going to go in and tapping in, push, pull. I use this a lot. If you have trouble kind of creating that smooth flow, this may really help you. So just go in like this and look. Ooh, look at that. These are gorgeous, you guys. I hope you'll give these a try because they're really good to travel with. And just so convenient, which I love. I travel with my brushes, my paints a lot, you guys. I go to people's houses. We travel a lot and camp, and these are just so easy when I just want to grab something and kind of play. I don't have to have all the other stuff I might have to have with my paints. So look how beautiful. I hope you can see that. It's blending in beautifully. And this is, again, how I tell a good watercolor pencil, which Arrtx, you did great, is its blendability. How smooth is it blending in? Is it smoothing out the pencil lines? That to me is huge. I want it to be able to have that capability of blending the lines out. So it's doing that really well, but look how pretty. And I'm just using a light color. We're going to do some leaves and things that'll have a darker color. I'm just cleaning off my brush quite often. And you don't need a lot of water, by the way, to blend and soften these. So there's my little white daisy. What I'll go in afterwards and do is I'll add in a little bit more. Now I'm going to let that dry just a bit. If you wanted to, you could go in. So I'm going to do half of the middle of this flower. I'm going to dampen it just like that. And then I'm going to go in to show you this. By the way, they give you a little brush here. I didn't use it. I just grabbed my brush. Okay, so let's go into the center there. Let me grab. Here's a brown. I really want more of an orangey brown. Let's see. Let's start with kind of like a cad yellow. No, not that bright. Let's go in with, not finding quite the right color I want. Well, we'll use that cad yellow. And this is wet. Now I can go in there and look at how much this spreads. I mean, just this becomes really soft. It just becomes like watercolors. Now, if I was to go in the other side, which I should let this dry, so let me use a little different color. I'll go ahead and grab that orange, that brown. And I'm going to draw around this outer area. I'm even going into the part I just painted. And now I'll use their brush and just kind of mix that in, smooth it out. So that's two different ways you can use. I'm going to grab my brush. I like my brush better. These watercolor pencils is you can go in, get your surface wet and use them wet on wet, or you can go wet on dry and then wet them. Another way you can do this as well, gosh, I really wish I had like a yellow ochre. Maybe we can use a little bit of an orangey color. And you can take your wet brush and work right off the tip of the pencil, and look at that. Works beautifully. So many different ways to use these, which, by the way, if I had chosen to use a water pen, a brush pen, I wouldn't even need my water. because the brush pen would have that water in it. So there you go. Those are a few different fun ways you can use those. So wet on wet, use your brush and play with that. Now be careful because the cores are a little bit soft, so you can misshape them with your brush. There we go. Let me rinse that. And I don't put my pencils back into my case until they're completely dry, because I really don't, if I was to put these in there right away, this one's probably dry now and it was wet, it would really mash down that tip. So I don't want to do that. And then for little details, you can use this to just kind of, you could even, if the tip is dry, just make these little dots and look at the detail you can get. Just like that. Oops, I'm sorry if my camera was shaking there. So look at how beautiful. Now, let's go in and let's try this leaf here. So I'm going to use my kind of like a tree green. This would probably be more of a tree green here, but I don't want quite that bright. So this is to me more like a sap green. Here's another green. Let me see. Let me look for an olive green. I've been using these, so they're a little bit out of order. Pardon my taking a while to find the correct pencils I want. So here's a few different greens. I feel like that one is the least one as far as the color palette. There we go. Here's one more. That's kind of a pretty green. So I'm going to start. Now here's where these are so fun. Look at the thin little line you can get. So I can start out with that thin little line, and also notice how vibrant these are. That's another thing I check with my watercolor pencils, is how vibrant can they get. And then I'll just color in the base of these leaves like that. Look how easy they fill in there, really easy to work with. So I've got the base of those. Now what I might do is just go into maybe the tips with a little bit of the darker color like this, and then we're going to blend all this together. I could even go in with kind of a yellowy green. Let's find a yellow. Well, we can use this yellow that we've already used, and maybe just add in some of that. And this is all going to blend beautifully with the pencil. So really play with your color mixes here. So I've done that. Now I'm going to set these down, and I'm going to grab my 8 round. Doesn't have to be real wet. It's just more damp. And I just start blending these. Look how pretty. Now I could blend that middle stem, but don't have to. I mean, you could play with these outdoors. Your kids, this would be so much cleaner if you don't feel like pulling out the entire paints and palettes and all that kind of stuff. But look how beautiful they're blending. I'll hold this up and show you in a minute here. And so vibrant. I just love that. Look how vibrant they are. Again, that to me is really an indicator of what good quality these are. So that's a really direct application. Here's another way you could use these. I very rarely do this. You can dip your pencil into the water. Again, I don't do that often. But you can do that. When I do that, I'm really careful because now that tip is really soft. So, and as you can see, it's almost painting on here because that tip is wet. So it's really going to pour some color on there. Let me do the same with the yellow. It is very pretty though. And to be honest, when you use them this way, they tend to blend really well because you're going directly onto the other colors with your softened pencil. So that's that one. Let me just go through and soften this line a bit. Just like that. And let's see. Let's create a little bit of a blue flower there, maybe like a little bud. So I'm going to use that blue. You can use these for shading as well. I'll show you some of that. Look how vibrant, you guys. I even lifted a little bit there. Let's use that gray. So I'm kind of switching back and forth between all the different ways you can use these. And then maybe a little bit of green. Wash my brush. Let's pick up that green. I think I like this green. Another good way to sharpen these, besides the sharpener, the hand sharpener, is you can use an X-Acto knife, which works really well. Just create a couple of those. So look how not fun these are. And the vibrancy, just amazing. Okay, let's see if we can do some little dabs for those. I'm going to pick up some of that blue again. I almost feel like I want to make those yellow. I think I will. Just to take some of that yellow up into the top of my painting. So I got my brush wet. Just going to pick up some of that yellow. And let's just dab. And look at that, just pops. What I could add in there is maybe just a tiny bit. Let's do some green. And yes, I just mixed some of that green with, or yellow with the green. That's okay. And there you go. So pretty, right? Let's see, what else can we do here? We could go in and add just a tiny bit of yellow on these. I want to show you how that layering works. So I'll layer it this way, which that yellow is pretty bright. So I might pick up that color, excuse the camera shake there, put it in my palette, and now I can kind of see how bright it is. So look at that beautiful layering. Isn't that pretty? So I hope you'll play with these. They're really fun. Definitely can layer. You can do pretty much anything you can do with your watercolors with these pencils. They're cleaner, they're more portable. They're a good way to play with mixing flowers. Let me show you this up close so you can take a look at that. So see that beautiful glazing? Isn't that awesome that you can do these with a pencil? You could create backgrounds. Let's see how, well, this would be like an example of a background. So you could do these backgrounds. We can add in details. Let's use our, let's see, let's use this one. And I can, this might not be dry. Let's give that just one more second. Actually, these do dry a lot quicker, by the way, but in order to get that crisp line, I want to really make sure it's dry. So let's go into this one here. We'll color in the center. I'm going to add the brown around the edges, like that. And let's see, where did my dark brown go? That was a little bit of a grayish brown. Just a little bit like that. And then I will go into I'm going to use yellow. I'm going to use orange. So these are the analogous colors. They're right next to each other on your color wheel, which means they're very harmonic. And then maybe a red. I think I'll use this red. This red's a little bit darker. So I'm going to start with the reddish colors in the middle. There we go. Because I really want you to see how well these blend. And now we will go in with our orange. And we really almost don't even need to add the orange. If we add the yellow and blend them, they're going to make a beautiful orange. But I'm going to go ahead and add in just a little bit of that, just to help it a bit. And now our yellow. This yellow is a little bit wet still, so it's pretty soft. So be aware of that. Just be kind of careful. You don't want to eat up that tip. There we go. And then I'm going to blend all this with a wet brush. Okay, let's grab our brush. So I've got those 3 colors put on there, and look at how much texture. These would be really great pencils if you were doing texture on a fence post or some sand or dirt. I think they'd be great. So I typically will go light to dark that way. And I will keep wiping off my brush. But look at the beautiful blending. That orange is a little bit powerful. That's why I go from the light to the dark, because if I went from dark to light, that red might just cover up all of the yellow. And I really want to get some of that yellow in there. But look how beautiful these are blending. And all I have to have is a damp brush. I don't need a ton of water. Look how pretty. Isn't that fun? So nice and clean. Then I'm going to go into the center here and mix that brown and that red. Beautiful, right? Let me show that to you, how beautifully it blended, just so nicely. You could sit at your bed, outside, anywhere with these, and just bring a water brush and your pencils. Let me show you the detail here. So I will find, well, let's see if we can use this. I'm not sure if that will show up well enough. I'm going to do some little veins. That one isn't showing. I can see it here, but I want you to be able to see it. Let me try, let's see, which one of these is darker? I think this one's darker. And I can just start adding in. So this would be, you know, if you were painting this, you would need a little fine liner, maybe a rigger, something like that. But when you have these pencils, you can just use them. So you have one pencil and you can achieve all these different ways of painting with them. Look at the details. Awesome, right? Again, to me, portability is key. And then what I might even do is, let's see, add in, I'm going to take, I'll stick with the orange. I mean, the brown. So I'm just adding in a tiny bit more here. And look at that beautiful colors here. So let's just paint a few more, but I think you're getting the idea with these. I hope you have fun with them. You can sketch the flower too with these, which is really great because if you want to sketch some leaves on your paper, but you don't want pencil lines, what you can do is use a watercolor pencil, because if you use a regular pencil and paint over them, a lot of times you're going to see the pencil lines. If you use a watercolor pencil, it's going to dissolve for the most part. So I tend to like the water pencil lines, but if you don't, you can always use, I like pencil lines rather. But if you don't like that line, you can always use a watercolor pencil and that will get rid of it. So we'll blend this and I'll show you. And you can see right here where I went in with pencils. So it gave me kind of some guidelines to follow. But yet when I applied water, it dissolved them. So you don't have that real hard line showing up like you might if you used a pencil. And I tend to think, just my experience, that less water is better when I'm using pencils. It just seems to blend a little bit better. This is so relaxing. And look how beautiful. If you wanted to create a background here, you could. So say in the background, I wanted to, let's see how that might work. In the background, let's use like, let's see, what kind of background could we use? Oh, let's use a little bit of a blue. So I'm going to go here. Now this is the cold press paper, so it's going to, that wasn't really the blue I was looking for. That's why it's always good to swatch these out so you can see exactly what color you're getting. But if I wanted to create a little bit of a background, say now I also wanted to add a little of the blue that I used in there in that background, I'm going to put it on here. And I don't like hardline backgrounds, so I'm just going to wet my pencil. And you can really get some finer lines. Oop, make sure you rinse that brush out. And look how pretty. Just water, pull it out. Isn't that fun? Trying to paint, I have a little leaf here. The other thing you can do, which I don't typically do, but it is a great, I'm just trying to soften some of these lines. But look at that background. Isn't that pretty? You can, I don't think I have a knife here. Hold on one second. Let me grab something. So these fun little, oops, that's the wrong one. Hold on. These fun little things are like little sanding blocks, and you can use them to sharpen your pencil. Of course, these are not open. Darn it. Let me grab scissors. There we go, because I really want to show you this because it's kind of fun. So I'm going to open these up. I've had these for a while, just don't use them. And let me open this. They really got these closed up well. I had one opened here, but I think I had used it all. Okay. So I'm just going to pull off the cover, and this is just like a very, very, very fine sandpaper. So you can use this to sharpen the point. This is actually pretty much my preferred way. I just think it works so much better. But the other thing I wanted to show you is, 1 second, if you use an X-Acto blade, you open it up here, you can scrape off, let me get a wet area here. So if I was to wet an area like this, so I've just wet that area. Don't ever throw away your pencil shavings because you can, I want to use blue so you can see it, because you can always use those shavings in wet water. And look at that. See how it does that? So it's almost like splattering, which is really fun, you guys. Isn't that the coolest? So can you believe all the different ways you can use these pencils? I mean, look at that. That is so fun. If I mixed a little bit, I don't know, this might be too soft still. Nope, it's working. And look at the different colors. So much fun. I hope this gives you a lot of really cool, fun ideas that make you want to jump up and go play with these like me. Keep in mind too, they give you this really fun little journal book that is amazing quality as far as the paper. It also is perforated, so you could pull it out. But I love keeping these tucked into my purse, my backpack. And if you were to carry those with these, so portable, doesn't take up a lot of room. They even actually give you this brush. So I was pretty pleased with these. I think they're a lot of fun. Detail, blending, glazing, a splattering effect, background, so many fun things you can do. And these Arrtx are a great quality. I will link below. I will also, I'll either create a $2.50 kit for you with this little drawing you could play with. I'll figure that out. But just have a lot of fun with these. I think this is a fun thing to play with for this year. And we'll definitely be going on one of my favorite supplies, art supplies for 2025. And just thank you so much for being here. I love that you are here. I love that we are here. I love that we're having so much fun here together. And you know what? I actually, I will put some more information down below as far as the key points with light fastness and some things like that. All right, everybody, happy painting. Thanks for being here, and I will see you all soon.